Hi, welcome back to another 213 in 2013. This is Shannon Tidwell, Garden Girl at Two Peas in a Bucket. If this is your first time to check out a 213 in 2013 video, this is a weekly video series by myself and a team of other garden girls in which each week we have a new layout that includes about 4 to 5 new prompts. So by the end of 2013, you will have a list of 213 creative prompts to get you started on your next creative project. Sometimes layouts start from different things, whether it's a product, a photo that you really want to use, a story that you really want to tell. And this week I decided that I wanted to use a cut file, and I wanted to make it a large cut file, make it one of the focal points of my page. And so that's where I began, by looking through the different designs in the Two Peas digital store. So I decided on this Love This card here, and normally I would say it would be the size of a Project Life card, but I decided to go ahead and supersize it and make it as big as I could on my silhouette. I have the original silhouette, so about 8.5 by 12 is as large as I can go, and so I filled that card into that spot and cut it out. And once I got it cut, I wanted to bring some focus back to the Love This that's there in the center. So I'm just using this photo as a guide and lightly penciling around it so that I could have some semi-straight lines there stitched around the Love This and also around the edge. As I started playing around with my supersized cut file, I decided that it would make a neat flap for a layout and kind of make a 2-in-1 layout. So I've gone from having just one photo that I thought I might use to switching to a pile of photos that I think will be really fun to use on this layout. And I'll be able to get more photos on this page without really over cluttering it. So that's where I'm starting here. Is I'm going to tape these two pieces of pattern paper together, and I started to do the tape long ways along the spine, but then decided to kind of mimic how the tape is coming on the edge. It's already printed on that pattern paper. So I'm just starting with a plain masking tape right now and just putting a few pieces on that will hold the layout together. And then my plan is that once I'm starting to embellish the page, that I will go through and add some more washi tape and just some more embellishments to the side. But I'm just kind of getting a plan to start with here, a base for my layout so that I can add the photos and then start concentrating on the embellishments. I want to make sure that the Love This really stands out, and since I'm planning on putting photos on that back page there, I want to cover up that window so that the Love This has another pattern paper showing through. And I found this little grid paper. I believe it's the backside of an Elle Studio pattern paper, and I'm going to use pop dots so that there's a little bit of separation between the pattern paper and the cut hole, and that way you can kind of see the design a little bit easier than if it was flat. So I'm just placing these pop dots around the design, as close to the design I can get, but without them showing through. And then I'm going to just place the little piece of pattern paper that I cut to fit over top. And you can see now that the back side also looks nice, since that's going to show once the flap is opened up. Okay, on to our next prompt. This time I'm going to combine some diagonal papers. I know, which kind of sounds crazy and maybe looks a little crazy to some, but I really like how these two papers go together. I like how the stripes are going different directions and the contrast of the softer rainbow stripes with the darker black and white stripes. I think it really adds a neat contrast to the page. And just a little bit of the stripes is going to show, the black and white diagonal stripes, so I think it will really look nice in the end. So I'm going to use this paper to base my photos on there on the back flap. Now that I've gotten those 3 photos adhered, I'm going to work on my 4th and 5th photos. And what I'm thinking that I'm going to do is kind of overlap them so that there's one photo on the front of the layout, and then I'm going to kind of put another photo right behind it so that when you open the flap, you'll see that second photo behind it. This was a little tricky to figure out at first how I was going to do it, but I decided to add some pop dots on one side of the top photo since my flap has a little bit of pop dots on it. That way the photo is going to be even. And then I want there to be pattern paper on the back side of the photo, so when the flap is opened up, you don't just see the ugly back side of a photo. So I put the pop dots on the outer edge of the photo, and I'm adhering that pattern paper to it. And then I'm just going to sandwich the flap between those two layers, between the photo and between the pattern paper that's going to be on the back side. Now I want to add some more embellishments to the inside of my layout before I add that fifth photo to the back. So I love this pattern paper. Do you ever buy a pattern paper just because you think it'd be really fun to cut out? That's what I did with this paper, and I think it will make a perfect border. So that's our next prompt, is to cut a border from a pattern paper. I'm going to put this border right on the seam between the photos and the pattern paper. I'm just going to add a tiny bit of adhesive because I'm going to do some machine stitching right down the center. And now that I've got it stitched, I want it to kind of pop off the page just a little bit, add a little bit of dimension back there. So what I'm going to do is just add some tiny little pop dots behind a couple of the flaps. I think I did about 3 on each side, just so it kind of fluffs off the page, and even when the flap is closed, when you open it up, it'll still have a little bit of fluff. Now I'm going to work a little bit on the front cover before I finish up with all the embellishments. I'm going to add now some more strips of washi tape. There's really no plan for how I'm adding the tape. I want it to look just kind of haphazard and not really planned out or too perfect. That's the look I'm going for. So the objective is not to overthink it. And now I'm going to go ahead and adhere that fifth photo on the back. Real simple. I'm just going to adhere it right behind the photo on the front flap, just so it doesn't show when the flap is closed, and you'll be able to see it when it's opened. And so that there's something to grab onto on the photo to open up the flap, I'm adding a couple little flag stickers to the top of it, front and back stickers, just kind of matching them up together. And then I'm going to attach them with a tiny attacher just to make sure that they don't come off that photo. Since there are the pop dots underneath that photo and the flap, it kind of makes it a little thicker and easier to grab onto as it is. Okay, now I'm going to add a few embellishments to the background here, and I'm thinking that I need something behind this photo, and I think this will be a good place maybe to add the title for the layout, since it'll show when the flap is both open and closed. I'm going to use these Trendsetter stickers by Fancy Pants. I like this kind of melon color, I guess. I think it'll match some of the clothes from the pictures really well. So I'm just going to spell out Mother's Day using these small stickers. And when I put the stickers on, I kind of forgot about the little flag on the photo that ended up covering up part of my title, but that was a super easy fix. Just needed to move over the die cut a little bit so that it overlaps the other direction a little bit, and it fits perfectly in between the flap and the flag. Now I'm going to add the 2013. I'm using the same sticker sheet, just the darker blue, navy blue stickers, but I'm going to add the 2013 right onto the photo, kind of just putting half of the sticker on it and half off. And since there's pop dots under it, it kind of pops up off the page, and that way it naturally overlaps the Mother's Day and adds a dimensional title really easily. Now I'm going to add a few little embellishments. This is a file tab by Basic Gray. So the back of the photo over there isn't just a big blank spot. I'm going to add a little label by American Crafts just to add the date and where we were, as well as a flower die cut. And then for my journaling, I'm going to go ahead and write it on the back of the photo. To soften the background just a tad, I'm going to go ahead and punch the corners so that they're rounded. Since there are so many square edges there, I felt like rounding that one side on the background would help soften the page and kind of give it a finished look. And now I need something up there in the top right corner, so I've got another die cut by American Crafts. This one's kind of a plastic, kind of a transparency, frosted transparency. So I'm going to put it on the edge, trim off the extra, and add a little stitching. And then for the other half of that transparency die cut, I'm going to go ahead and use it on the inside of the layout, just so otherwise it would get lost and never used, but I thought I might as well put it to use. So since that background is already adhered down, I can't really machine stitch through it, I'm going to add the stitching to the die cut first and then adhere it to the pattern paper. And now it's time to add a few finishing touches. I've got these puffy stickers by American Crafts that I really love. I'm adding a few hearts around some of the flowers, kind of add a little bit of dimension to the die cuts that I already added to the page. You can also see that I did add some enamel dots just on top of the washi tape border that I created on the side there to hold the layout together. And that looks like it wraps up my layout this week for 213 and 2013. I really like how this layout ended up coming together, and I was able to use 5 very colorful photos all on one layout without it being too overwhelming. We covered 4 different prompts this week. First, to supersize a cut file. 2, to have a 2-in-1 layout. 3, to combine diagonals. And for the last one, to cut a border from pattern paper. I hope that you've enjoyed watching this layout come together, and make sure that you participate in one of the prompts at least this month so that you can upload it to the 2Ps gallery and be entered to win a prize on the 2Ps blog. Thanks a lot for hanging out. This is Shannon Tidwell, Garden Girl at 2Peas in a Bucket.